what do the students think about you fighting?
The reaction is kind of twofold. Some think it's super cool and think I'm a little bit scary. And some of them think that I'm crazy, which probably isn't that far off either. So every once in a while you'll have a little smart student be like, well, I'm going to come fight you at your gym. And I'm like, come sign the waiver, buddy. And no one's ever done it. So
That's probably...
I mean, I'm also incredibly goofy, so it's hard for me to maintain the intimidation factor very long with them. I pretty quickly will trip over something or say something goofy, and everyone will just be like, "Oh, she's a goon." Yeah, and then it's over.
It's probably easy to get them to do things if they're scared of you, though.
Yeah, but you also want them to be comfortable when they're in the learning environment, because if they're scared of me, they're not learning as much. So, but like I said, I am a big klutz, and I'm incredibly goofy. So I don't maintain the intimidation factor very long. My coaches even tell me like, you're real scary standing there, but the minute you move or talk, it's over. And so that's just how it is for me, I guess. Just good as a teacher, because I don't want them scared of me. But I have some of my students from the past to be like, yeah, there were times when you act like you're frustrated. We're like, could she actually hit us? And I'm like, no, I can't. So
You speaking of your fighting, you fought 3 times in 2019. I'm sure you would have liked that to kind of carry over to 2020.
Yes.
How has it been? Obviously, you probably don't like the inactivity.
I don't, but at the same time, it's not. 2019 was unusual for me because the year before that, I fought in January and then not again. One of the things that I've constantly had to battle is lack of opponents, not being able to find people to fight me. So 2018, I fought in January, and we looked around for a year and couldn't find an opponent. So 2019 was wonderful, and I really was hoping to, maintain the momentum of fighting so many times. But unfortunately, we're where we are. Which, I mean, at the same time, it's fine. It's time to hone my skills, work on things that need to get worked on. And to be able to rest up and let some, little things from training a lot heal. And that's been nice, but I would much rather be preparing for a fight right now.
Yeah, it's got to be hard, especially in the featherweight division, to find opponents. I find there's not a whole lot there. You think about 115, 125, there's always opponents. What's it been like fighting at 145, and how difficult it has been to find opponents?
I'm new to 145, so I've only fought there once, actually, and I was supposed to fight Jamie Driver at 145, but she couldn't. She got sick or something, and she couldn't make weight, so we agreed to bump it up. But I've always had trouble finding opponents. There's not a lot out there. So most of the time, I fought girls that a lot of them will fight up and down. So you'll see one of my teammates fights at 145, but she also fights at 135. And so my problem is that I can't drop down to 135. So it's been difficult. And that's frustrating. In that I'm watching my smaller opponents fighting almost every other month. And they fought. See them fight 4 or 5 times in a year is not unusual. Whereas I'm sitting here with my twiddling my thumbs, like, well, we're looking. Hopefully I have one soon.
I think on the other spectrum, I guess it's probably good to, in a division like that, especially when you look at the UFC, which is shallow because there's not a whole lot of competition. Mm-hmm. And you've obviously been pretty vocal about a potential fight with Megan Anderson, which I love that fight. There's no real competition in the UFC at 145, so it kind of opens up a door for you. How do you feel about that? And what is it about that fight that's exciting for you?
Well, as far as the division itself goes, it's an exciting time to be a 145er because there are a lot of places that don't have a lot. But then the question becomes, does Dana White really intend to build the 145? I mean, seems like the other two girls that they're both opponents for both Felicia and for Megan, they haven't fought each other. And so curious to see is, do they have multi-fight contracts? Was this a one-time in and one-time out? Is he going to build it, or is he just maintaining these Megan and Felicia for a while? I mean, what's he going to do? And as far as Megan Anderson fight, I am a huge fan of hers. I love her. I love watching her fight. I love watching her interviews and stuff online. She's a great fighter, and she's awesome. And It would just be an honor to fight with her, to get in the cage with her, also to fight in the UFC. Looking at the way that she fights, I felt like, not saying I could, it would be a good fight. I feel like, we would match up well. And I just want to get in the cage with her because I've always wanted to. I mean, I saw her at I accompanied one of my friends. She fought Invicta, and Megan was there, and I was like, I want to fight her. Not because I don't like her, because I love her. Like, I love her, but I just really want to fight her. I guess to me that would be almost like saying I've arrived, And at this point, no one else will fight me. So what else am I gonna do? Just start picking them off. Like, hey, you want to fight? Okay. Because that would be great.
Yeah, so I've been like kind of coming up trying to think of ideas of a way that you could build the 145 division. And I think very similar to what they did with 125, where you bring in a bunch of girls, put them on the Ultimate Fighter. Mm-hmm. Everybody who weighs 145 just jump on. Is that something that you'd be open to? Like maybe even like an Ultimate Fighter, or is that something you'd probably not, given, you've got school and all that stuff going on?
I mean, if they did it in the summertime, I'd play. I mean, my dream is to fight in the UFC. They did it before though. They've done the Ultimate Fighter at 145, but when they did it, the girls that got put in were all women who could fight at 135 and 145.
And they all dropped down.
Yeah. And they all dropped down. And I mean, I don't blame them because there still aren't fights at 145, and you had Cyborg up there, and that's a tall order. So, I mean, I feel like right now the best way to do it is just to start bringing them in. You got these two ladies that have fought, Felicia and Megan. Bring in some girls to fight them and just build it up that way. It's one of those things where it's like at one point in time, the best division I thought in Invicta for a while was 145, because you had Cyborg and Spencer and Anderson and a bunch of other girls in there. Well, that division is pretty much gone. So I mean, like, I'd like to see Invicta maybe even do that tournament and bring in 7 or 8 female fighters at 145 and let us rebuild the division there too. Right now, the only 145 division that has any size to it at all is Bellator. And so there's other places they need to do it. The fights are good. I mean, like, 145ers are warriors, just like everyone else. And the fights that I've seen at that division are awesome. So why do you not want that?
Yeah, I think the greatest female fighter of all time is a 145er, Chris Cyborg. Despite what happened with Amanda, I have her ranked as number 1 of all time. So if that's the division, imagine if you just cut out the heavyweight division. Like, it doesn't make any sense. So I agree with you there. Speaking of 145ers, Amanda Nunes and Felicia Spencer just got announced. What's your thought on that? And I mean, obviously, I think a lot of people have Amanda Nunes. Do you think there's a chance that Spencer could upset her?
I mean, Spencer's ground game is very, very good. And I know that Nunes is a black belt in jiu-jitsu, but they both are. So I feel like we've seen Spencer withstand Cyborg. I mean, she lost to her, but she took the punishment. And if she can take the punishment from Cyborg, then I feel like she could. Do I think she will? Probably not. But I feel like she could, if she can, withstand because Amanda's going to come in there and press early and go at her. If she can handle that and create the space that she needs and get it on the ground, then I mean, I think she might be okay.
And what about the main event this weekend? I've been dying to watch a fight for the past 3 months, and I think this is an amazing card they put together. What's your prediction on the main event and your thoughts on both of those guys?
I think, I don't know, like, this is one that it's got I'm really excited about it because I love watching Gaethje fight. Like, I love him. He just goes hard, and you can just hit him and hit him and hit him and hit him, and he never stops. So I think he's got that. I mean, I've watched him, I forget who it was, but he literally just broke the soul of one of his opponents one time because he just kept coming forward, and the guy was licking him. He just kept coming and kept coming and kept coming. So I feel like if he's able to do that, but I also think Ferguson is skilled enough that he could finish him. So, and he can avoid that situation. But I mean, I love both guys. I love watching both of them fight. And so I feel like this is the payoff for 3 months with no MMA. So I'm super excited, but it's going to be a fight.
Oh, it's going to be a war, and I don't see this not being an absolute banger of a fight.
Yeah.
What's it? What obviously all your pro fights have been with Valor. What's it been like to fight for that organization?
It's wonderful. I love the people at Valor. They just, the fights are well put on. Everything is very, very organized. They take care of us. And now we have the deal with the Cotton Eye Joe in Knoxville, where so most of our fights are there, and we have a place to fight every month. We put fights on the first Friday night of the month, and I love fighting there. It's small, so like I fought in the Coliseum and I fought at a baseball park for them, and those were neat. But like the Joe is just so intimate, and it's just super cool. And so like I like the venues that we use, and it's just been a really good experience. I have fought outside of or twice. My first fight and my third fight, I think, were outside of it, but so far nothing compares to my experience of Valor. They just do a great job.
What's it like competing? Because they're in Knoxville, right? Their events are in Knoxville.
Mm-hmm.
What's it like competing in front of your home fans? I guess your family and friends.
Oh, it's amazing. I mean, it's amazing. I grew up playing sports in high school and college, and then I will say I do love traveling away and fighting, because there's not sometimes as much pressure on you to perform and look really, really good in front of your home. You want to win. You want to look good.
Yeah.
You know that if you mess up and you lose, everyone's going to see it. But at the same time, it's when you can feel them screaming and hollering, and you look up, and those people that you love are right there. Last time I fought, a bunch of my teachers and principals from South Dole, my high school, came and they watched, and like you could hear them screaming, and you can feel it in your chest, and it's really easy to get hyped and fired up, but also it kind of can be calming as well. So I love it, but like I said, I love traveling too. I love going to someone's home court and beating in front of people too. That makes me very happy. So either way.
So if the UFC were to call you and offer you a fight with Megan Anderson in anywhere in Australia, is that something you'd be open to that?
I want to go to Australia. Yes, I love to travel. Like I said, I played basketball and track in college, and I loved going to away games. I like being the bad guy, the one that comes in there and ruins everyone's day. I mean, like I have no problem playing that role, and I love to see new places. And I've always wanted to go to Australia, so I'd take it. Or Fight Island. I'm curious about this. I want to go to Fight Island, so
That would be fun.
Let me go there. I want to fight on the beach. I mean, honestly, I'll fight anywhere at this point. I just want to fight. I just want to play. Someone needs to let me play.
What was the transition like into MMA? You said you had a track and basketball background. What was it like picking up MMA, and what was the decision behind it?
There wasn't really a decision behind. I mean, honestly, after college, I got hurt my senior year in college. I was able to keep playing, but I was playing in a lot of pain, and so after I got done, they basically were like, look, you could have your shoulders messed up. It's not surgery needed, but it could be. So you need to kind of, nothing for a while. Well, I took that nothing very seriously and gained a lot of weight. And so MMA became this, I gained 300, I was over 300 pounds, and I was trying to find a way to lose weight. And I walked in, I did a Get Fit competition, kind of like the Biggest Loser thing they have on TV, but it was in Seymour, where I live, and I thought I was walking into a Taibo class, but it wasn't. And when I tried to run away, they caught me, and they dragged me kicking and screaming. I mean, I was kicking and screaming. That's not me being, whatever. It's literally kicking and screaming onto the mat, and it just kind of progressed from there. I am psychotically competitive. I mean, it's not healthy. I can't let my kids beat me at Hi-Ho Cheerio at home with board games. My husband's like, you're cheating again. I can't lose. So once I got into the gym and started training, at first it was just losing weight. And then I kind of was taking classes, and I was watching my teammates that were training with me 3 or 4 days a week, and they were fighting. And I went to a couple of fights, and I thought, I'm not doing this. And then one day I just kind of looked at my husband, and I was like, what would happen if I got in there and did that? I mean, like, I wonder if I would do any good. And he was like, I knew this was coming. And so I told my coach, like, hey, I just want to fight one time. I just want to fight. And so they got me a fight in Harlan County, Kentucky. My first fight was actually not with Valor. And I got in the cage, and the adrenaline rush is like none other. It was an amazing experience. And after the first fight, I was just hooked. Initially, it was just one of those, I'm a teacher. I'm happy with where I'm at. I'm just going to keep doing this. And this is just kind of this fun thing I do on the side. And then as time went on, and I kept winning, and I kept losing weight. And as I was losing weight, a lot of the athletic ability that I had in high school and college that I thought were just gone forever started coming back. And then they were like, "Ooh, you can do this." And I was like, "I kind of like doing this." And that's kind of how it happened, to be honest. A total accident.
So you're 9-0 now. Your record says 4-0, but you're 5-0 as an amateur as well. 8 finishes. So I think that kind of puts an extra staple on why the UFC or these bigger organizations should take a look. Undefeated, pretty much all finishes as a 145er. It's not common. Is there a fight there that stands out where people who aren't familiar with your fights that you'd say you got to watch that one that kind of summarizes who I am as a fighter?
That's a hard one. I feel like different fights have brought out different things about my game that I like. My first pro fight against Jen Morgan was, she had not fought MMA before, but she was very good she's a Muay Thai fighter. And so that one, I mean, I won because I basically took her down and dribbled her head on the mat for the entire fight. But I mean, at that point, I didn't have a lot of confidence in my stand-up game, really. I mean, and I had hurt myself, and so that I couldn't, my left hand was a little jinky, so I couldn't block. So we had to actually switch my feet. So that fight I fought left-handed, and I'm not left-handed. And I think going back and looking at it now, on our feet, in my head, I remember the training was take her down, take her down, take her down, take her down. But going back and looking on my feet, I was doing just fine. And so for me, that was good to go look back at that one and see it. It gave me a lot of confidence in my stand-up game. Even if, I mean, and also in just being able to take someone down. I worked wrestling hard before that fight. That was important. Also because it went the distance, and I had never gone past the second round before. And so a lot of me didn't know. I mean, I'm not young. If my body would go 3 rounds, and at that third round, my head thought you are tired. But when I got in there, my body said, "I got this," and I felt great. I was in control. So that fight was important. And that was a big moment for me. It was also my first professional fight, so that was a big moment for me. And then I guess the last one, even though it was short, that one was one where, generally when I've gotten in there, my coach has just kind of been like, we have this game plan, we're going to do this one thing, and this is what I've done every single fight. And then I just kind of go, I've got things I prepared for, but a lot of it's just reaction. And that one was one where we really wanted not a striking finish. We wanted a submission, honestly, because there was a submission of the night award, and the winner got a gi, a War Tribe gi. And I really wanted that gi. I was like, that's mine. So, in that fight, I hit her and I dropped her. And I remember being like, the control of being able to clear the head. Okay, no, I can't hit her again. You know what I mean? And taking her down and getting that triangle. That was one where you straight up see, the coaching and the drilling it and practice over and over and over again. Cause we've been working on hitting different submissions from side control. And so that was one that means a lot also, because simply I got the triangle. And I was able to control the situation enough to be like, okay, I'm not going to keep punching you in the face, but I want to, because that's fun. So that one's another one. But I mean, I'm young enough in my career that every fight that I have, there's something more about me that, that I'm learning. It's a lesson learned. It's a thing that I have to push through. And so they've all been learning experiences, and they've all taught me a lot about me as a fighter and as a person.
All right. A couple more questions. One last MMA one, and then one non-MMA one.
Okay.
If you were to get a call, how quickly and when were you looking to get back in there?
I like, in fact, if you're gonna ask me to fight someone like Megan Anderson, I would want, I'll do it as fast as I can, but between six weeks or so, maybe faster if I need to. I mean, like, it's at that point, I just let me in. I'll do what I got to do to get there. So we stay ready at my gym, so we're constantly training. I'm constantly in some form of a fight camp. So, but I mean, like 6 weeks gives you time to work on game plan and everything else too. So that would be nice.
Okay, and then outside of MMA and outside of school, what sorts of things are you doing to occupy your mind? Any movies, any TV shows, anything you're doing to just kind of distract yourself of the kids that are running around?
I mean, yeah, I like to read, and I have read 18 novels since this started.
I've never read that. I haven't read that many in my life.
Well, I mean, I get because with TV, it's hard because the stuff that I like to watch, I don't want my kids to watch as much, and they like to watch TV, so it's kind of they have the TV, and my husband's got a TV, and I just kind of will go grab my little book, and we have our backyard is amazing. We have a horse field behind us, and it's very breezy and nice, and so I just go out there with the book and snuggle up and read. My husband says that, and it's also really, really good for me, is in like when I'm reading a book, there could be a nuclear explosion outside my house. I'm not going to hear it. Like I am totally in the book. So that for me is a complete escape. And I just go in my little book and I read. Right now I'm doing the Percy Jackson series. I read the first series and then now I've got the Gods of Olympus. I'm almost done with it though. Then I have to find something else to read. I'm not sure what I'm going to do next.
All right. Great. I think most UFC fighters tend to game, so it's kind of nice to hear that someone reads books and actually, learns things rather than playing Fortnite.
Yeah. Terrible at games though. Like my husband likes to play video games, and my boys do, and they got me to play Halo, and I ended up in a corner in the game, like jumping up against the wall. And at the time, my 5-year-old kid pistol whipped me to death, and I was like, "This is not for me." So it's not that I don't want to. I'm really bad at it. I do enjoy playing like old school Mario Brothers, Super Mario Brothers, Donkey Kong Country, Mario Kart. I'll play those, but I prefer to read.
All right. Awesome. All right. Well, hopefully you get a big fight. Hopefully Megan Anderson. If not, something in the UFC. Yeah. All the best. And I'm looking forward to watching your next fight.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on.
Yeah, of course. No problem. All the best.
Thanks. You too. Bye-bye.